Welcome back to my channel. Like I said in the previous video that we were going to take a look underneath this truck, so we'll do that now. We swapped the headlights out. We took out that seal beam and put in a halogen headlight.
The headlight that we took out, the 3-prong seal beam headlight, 7-inch.
You can't see the 3-prong connector, but we wired in another connector for it and soldered it on to work with the new headlight we purchased. We kept the battery in the same place, purchased a new battery box and replaced it. This is the parking brake. I was able to reuse it, and I have to drill a couple holes to mount that bracket because that's a new floor pan sheet metal. That's the parking brake. That's the rod that comes from the front. I was able to reuse that. It goes back to that, and I reuse this part of it. This part is part of the cable that I had to purchase. The parking brake cable is from a 1984 Eldorado. I think it's multiple years. It starts in the 70s, and I think it ends in 1985 for that parking brake cable. These brake calipers are from a 1984 Cadillac Eldorado, and CPP uses them in the kit that you can buy from them for the rear disc brakes. So I had to cut that cable and crimp another end on it, a lead end, and that's pretty much, yeah, that's the only modification I had to do to it. Besides, that was a standard thread from 1950, and this is a metric thread. They're going to metric thread, so I rethreaded that, welded a nut on it, and then this is the locking nut. We used a B&M automatic shifter. I think we got it off of eBay. And that's the actual cable coming from the inside of the vehicle. And of course we'll use grommets and everything for all the holes that you see. That shifter, it worked out real nice because it was a complete kit, and it has the linkages for different transmissions, and this so happened to work out good for this 4L60. The fuel tank was in good shape, so what I did was, for the supply side, I welded a fitting on it and made an actual low point, and that's the supply, and this is the return. Like I was telling you in the previous video, I took the whole wiring harness, so I was able to come off the harness, and like I said, everything's loosely done. We haven't made brackets or anything for that yet. I used the actual fuel filter from the other truck. We'll I have a new filter that we'll install once we get everything going, but I just took the bracket and put it back on the frame rail. Need to drill another hole in both the bottom of it, but that's how we did that part of it. If you watched the previous video, you would see I showed the exhaust tips from an SRT8. This pipe we purchased from eBay, and it goes all the way back here. That's a hole from the factory. I guess it's a weep hole for the water to drain from. And there, the other one is on the other exhaust. You can see it's like a little cutout for a little louver that's punched out for the water to drain from the exhaust. But yeah, so it comes back, and focus in on it. That's the rear view of it. I welded a bracket for the hangers and it's just tacked on. Once I take the bed out of it, which I have to take the bed out, I'll weld everything in permanently. The wiring harness came all the way back from the new truck. I took the whole harness from the donor truck, and tell like what you want to do if you take that whole harness is all your points have to be grounded pretty good. So I just welded a stud to the frame and just grounded from that, and the harness runs all the way over to the other side, to the other stoplight. That's how that works. This is the CPP Mustang 2 IFS. Everything you see came with this kit. These headers they are eBay headers, and I had to modify the driver's side for the steering shaft to come through. But they're pretty decent headers for like under $200. They even have the O2 bong already welded onto them. To get the rack and pinion installed, we had to notch out this here for the bolt to be able to go in and out, and also went ahead and notched it out here where this where the pressure line goes into the rack. We were able to use the factory power steering pump. We just got some braided lines and the proper fittings. I welded a new pan in, cut out the bad metal and welded good metal in it. But what we have to do, looks like there's a gap there, but there's a very small gap, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It's pretty tight. But I'll just take some paint over rust, POR, and well, I'll probably have the owner do it. He'll do it, and he'll put some POR over the rusty parts of it, and maybe scuff this and put some paint on it, and then we'll take the seam sealer and go around and seam seal it and smear seam sealer there. That's the B&N shifter that we bought to use for the 4L60 transmission, and you can see the hole that was cut. And like I said before, we'll put grommets in it to seal it off. But I'm showing you all these parts because, like in the previous video, I said I didn't have a lot of resources to look at for people using different parts on these trucks. So these parts, so far, they've worked okay for us. So if you know anybody that has a truck this year model, or any truck, maybe a C10 or whatever, that they're swapping, these are the parts that work for us. So share this video with them and give it a thumbs up, and give me a few comments or questions, and I'll see if I can answer them. Thanks for watching.